Hello everybody, this is Mahadeva. Alright, so once again I am back on YouTube and I am live streaming multiple places. We are live on Twitter, we're live on Twitch and YouTube. I don't know if there's other places, but anyway, we are live there. And today I'm going to ask you the question: what is the fastest way to escape reincarnation? We're also going to be talking about what is the one thing that you don't want to do, because if you do, it will guarantee that you will be reincarnated. And the ironic thing is that most people who are seeking to escape reincarnation are also instead doing that very thing that they're not supposed to do, thereby ensuring reincarnation. So, what is the fastest way to escape reincarnation? Well, in order to escape reincarnation, there are multiple things to it, but the most practical thing, we're a very practical guy, the most practical thing is to focus on the frequency at which you vibrate. So, when you come to the end of this life, which will happen, your physical life does have an expiration date on it. When you reach that expiration date, if your frequency is at the same frequency as it is here down here on this planet, and there's a lot of different frequencies that count, within being reincarnated. If your frequency is in that same frequency range, that's where you get to come back. If your frequency is at a different level than this earthly three-dimensional manifestation, then you don't come back here. You go someplace to a higher frequency. And so what is the one thing that you can be assured of that if you do, it will keep you reincarnating over and over again? Well, that one thing, ironically, is seeking to escape reincarnation. Reincarnation is like a boa constrictor. The way boa constrictors kill their prey is they wrap around whatever the animal is and they just squeeze. Now, unlike you and I, we squeeze and let go, we squeeze and let go. We're not designed to hold, one thing squoze for indefinitely. Our muscles don't work like that. But the boa constrictor, their entire body is one muscle, and when it squeezes, it doesn't ever let up. So what ends up happening is that the animal struggles. And as the animal struggles, the boa constrictor gets more and more able to squeeze. Now, what ends up happening is that the prey ends up suffocating because it can't inhale. Because every time it exhales, every time it moves and tries to break free, it exhales. And every time it exhales, the boa constrictor just keeps squeezing until finally it can't get any air. And our instinct is to exhale so that we can inhale. So every time, even when there's they can't inhale. They're still exhaling, trying to make space for the inhale, and the boa constrictor just keeps squeezing until the person suffocates or the animal suffocates. Your desire to escape reincarnation is exactly like that. Your desire to escape reincarnation is you struggling and exhaling, and reincarnation just keeps squeezing. This is why people get so upset over the idea of reincarnation. This is why this is so huge. And so every time, by the way, every time somebody leaves a comment on my channel, and I've said this before, I don't say it now, but I have said this before. Every time somebody leaves a comment on my channel and says, on one of my reincarnation videos, that's it, I'm out of here, I'm never coming back, I always write, well, then you're guaranteed to come back. Because in order to not come back, you have to not care. I have a friend of mine who's an expert in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he goes around the world teaching people and training people for the octagon, believe it or not. And he teaches Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And what I found with that martial art is that martial art waits until you overextend yourself. You move your arm in one way, you move your body in one way, and he would be like, if we were wrestling on the ground and I would be, of course I wasn't into jiu-jitsu, so I didn't know what I was doing. I would go to do something, he would say, thank you, and he'd grab my arm, and then I'd hold on to that, and then he'd wriggle around, and then I'd try and do something, he'd say, thank you, and then he'd get my arm into some other position, and next thing I know, I'm tapping out. And so they wait for you to overextend. They wait for you to put effort towards fighting. And the interesting thing is there was one time when I didn't resist, and he came at me, and I didn't resist him, and we ended up spinning around, and he ended up behind me, like smacked up against the wall, and he looked at me, and he's like, how did you do that? I said, I didn't do anything. It's because I didn't give him anything to grab onto. Aikido is like that. Aikido is all about battle, ground fighting, and waiting for somebody to come at you with a big, strike. If you don't make a big strike, they can't grab onto your arm and throw you around. If you don't lunge at them, they can't flip you. So it's reincarnation is like that. It waits until you make a big effort to resist it, and then it grabs you and it brings you right back. So is it just that simple? Is it just that simple that all I have to do is change my frequency? If I can change my frequency, can I escape reincarnation? Could it just be that simple? The answer is yes. And the answer is also no. Yes, it's true. If you're able to change your vibration, get it to a higher level, then you won't, by law, by the law of the universe, by the law of the way energy functions, you won't reincarnate. You will end up wherever it is that aligns with your frequency. But here's the problem. You can't just think yourself out of it. You can't just decide, okay, I'm going to think myself out of this frequency. This is what the law of attraction does. This is the mistake that the law of attraction makes. It says if you just focus on happy things will come to you. If you focus on negative things will come to you. And that's all up here. I mean, you can try. I mean, the thing, you think that actors just show up and they just emote, right? No, actually actors go and they create a whole other life in their head, and they experience, they build a backstory. My dad did this, I really wanted that, and I didn't get it. And you create this thing so that when you show up in character, when somebody says their line to you, there's some history that responds emotionally. So good actors, you look at them and they're crying or they're upset and you really believe them. That's because they've created an alternate identity that has all of these desires and attachments, and they're responding from that. They can turn it on and off if they want because they're actors. But you're not able to do that. You can't simply turn on and turn off your emotional reactions to things. It just doesn't work like that. So yes, if you can just switch your frequency, you won't have to reincarnate. But you can't just simply intellectually make that decision. This is the problem with religion. Just accept, get on your knees and accept that Jesus is your Lord and Savior and you'll be saved. I don't believe that. Because it's all intellectual. So, how can, as we were talking about earlier, how can just making certain physical movements, how can doing just these physical movements result in releasing you from reincarnation? It is true that if you just simply do, I'm showing you a move. You can try and replicate that if you want. That's only half of the move. This is actually the whole move right there. If you want to try and replicate it, go ahead. And simple postures. They set off switches in your meridians that change the vibration in your body. And then when you can do energy meditations that involve both movement and intention, just simply by hitting those switches, turning them off, turning them on, you actually release karmic attachments, karmic trauma. So here's something that you may not know about reincarnation. Reincarnation has nothing to do, I want you to listen very carefully to me. Reincarnation has nothing to do with mistakes that you have made, with sins that you have committed, with harming other people, with being a bad person, having doubt, not being spiritual enough. Reincarnation has nothing to do with that. Reincarnation is what happens when you feel trauma, when you experience trauma. So what's the difference between experiencing trauma and experiencing just, a less than ideal experience in life? Right? What's the difference? The difference is, I'll give you an example. If you're driving in your car and you're driving in a car and somebody slams on their brakes in front of you, and you have to slam on your brakes, otherwise you might hit them, and you come really close, you like skid and almost hit the back of their car, and then you're furious and you're screaming, "What the hell are you doing?" And you don't do this, by the way, because you might have somebody like me on the road. Don't do this. You might stick your fist out the window and go, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And you get upset and you get angry. And the person says, "Sorry," if they're smart. "Sorry." And then they get in their car and they drive away. And then you drive away. And after 30 seconds of cussing, and you realize you're going to be okay. Nothing happened to you, your car, nobody got hurt. And the anger dissipates. And then you forget. You get to Disneyland or wherever you're supposed to go, or you go out to dinner and you have fun, and then you realize, yeah, there's some guy cut me off and I almost hit him. It really upset me for 20 seconds, but yeah, I'm grateful nothing happened, and then you forget. So that's not a trauma. You experienced anger, you experienced fear, you may have even had an argument with somebody, but it's not trauma. Trauma is, I want to be clear about this. Trauma is a conscious choice. That doesn't mean that you can avoid trauma. If something really horrific happens to you, it doesn't mean I'm saying that you can avoid the trauma. That is a very normal human thing. What I am saying is that your reaction to the trauma is still a conscious choice. And then what happens is it creates a pattern. That pattern is then you reinvest and reindulge in that pattern, in that thought process. So let's say you got into that same scenario. slammed on your brakes, but you actually ended up getting into an accident. And because it was your car that struck the other car, this is kind of the law. You have to be far enough away from the car that if a car slams on their brakes, you have to have enough space to be able to not. By the way, here in Australia, they don't do that. These people are notorious for climbing up your rear bumper. I mean, from the moment that they step in cars, they even have the placard of learner and permit. From the moment they get in cars here, they are on your tail. You're on the freeway and there are giant trucks on your tail. And somebody really needs to explain to these people the law of physics, that it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because if somebody had to slam on their brakes, you have to have a certain amount of distance to keep from slamming into the back of somebody's car. And I don't know what it's like here, but in the States, if you slam into somebody's car, even if they, out of nowhere just slammed on their brakes, you're responsible, because your job is supposed to avoid it. If you aren't driving safely enough to avoid it, it's your fault. So let's say you get into an accident and you end up totaling some guy's car and you don't have insurance, and it ends up just destroying your credit and your whatever, and you hold on to that. Then now you're in a state of trauma. And you wake up in the morning and you go out and you see your trashed car or your rejected license, and you think about that every day, and that anger builds, and then it becomes a thing. And instead of doing what I just did, which is just sort of talk about how crazy the driving is out here, you launch into a huge, and you're just so upset, and that's trauma. You get into a relationship and the relationship doesn't work out. You're both sad, you sit down, you talk it over, you come to the realization that you guys weren't meant for each other anyway. You realize you really still like that person, they're just not the right person for you. You stay friends with them, you're in contact, you're Facebook friends, you start dating somebody else, they start dating somebody else, you end up becoming friends, and you go out as couples and you talk about each other. So you worked through it. You worked through the disappointment, you worked through the sadness, you worked through if there was any anger, whatever happened that may have hurt your feelings, you worked through it. It's not trauma anymore. Same scenario, somebody cheats on you, that destroys the relationship, cheats on you with your best friend. The trauma is really horrible. It gets inside of you, and it just causes you so much pain, and you never get over it, and you never are able to get into a relationship ever again. And the next person that comes along, they want to be with you, and you say, I just can't do this because I can't trust you. I was hurt so badly. And the pain just continues. Well, you have trauma. So the trauma is what keeps you coming back. And the trauma and your reaction to the situation, whether it becomes something that was challenging that you worked through, or something that becomes a trauma, is your doing. And unfortunately, no matter how damaging, even if you were born into a family where you had a narcissistic, abusive parent or sibling or both, and it traumatized you, and you go into life traumatized, and you say, you don't understand, you have no idea what they did. And if anybody listens to the story, they go, oh my God, that's horrible. And nobody judges you for that. But the fact of the matter remains is that you made a choice to respond the way that you did, and it created a trauma. Those traumas get stuck. They can get stuck in your aura. In fact, in your aura, you have these things called Samskaras, which are past life traumas that they're waiting. They're like a bubble. It's like a bubble waiting in your aura. And then something comes along. It's a karmic destiny thing that comes along in your life, and that bubble pops open. And all of a sudden, you re-experience a trauma. You respond to something perhaps more intensely than somebody else would. And people are wondering, why are you so upset about that? Well, it's because that situation has triggered an unconscious past life trauma, and you have the choice to either re-traumatize yourself over it by choosing to stay traumatized, or you make the choice to work through the pain and to be honest about yourself and to acknowledge what you wanted that you didn't get. And then the samskara disappears, and then your vibration moves up a notch. You have in your heart center, as we talked about here, if you are practicing the 90-day challenge, you know what I'm talking about. You have the most powerful energy source in the universe surrounding your soul. It's the lightning energy. It's called the Shin, the heart mind. And I only know of one practice that taps directly into this. Some of the other practices sort of skirt around it. They might tap into a little bit sort of by proxy or, by association. But this is the practice that goes directly to this lightning power that surrounds the heart. When you have trauma in your life, you have trauma in your life that creates in you a response, a trauma response. That energy, that feminine energy of the heart mind goes to surround that trauma. It is meant to temporarily protect your soul from the harshness of three-dimensional existence. And then if you do not make the choice to work through that pain consciously, if you do not make the choice to do the exact opposite of everything your lower vibrational body is telling you to do, which is deny that that pain is there, fight against it, do not think about that thing, do not forgive that person, do not go there. In fact, protect yourself more from that pain. If you don't do the opposite of that, that trauma stays in there, and all of that most powerful energy in the universe that surrounds your soul goes to protect you from that. It tries to block. The soul's behind it. It's that trying to block the soul from that trauma. And that lowers your vibration. The heart-mind energy is at such a high vibration that when you allow that energy to release itself from around the soul and to penetrate through your whole body and into your whole aura, then when you no longer have any wounds or any traumas that you are protecting yourself from, your vibration will move up to the next level. So there's two ways to do this, and they both have a downside. The easier way is also the longer way. The easier way is to just let your body instinctually do what it's designed to do, which is it wants to protect you from the pain. Your unconscious mind creates firewalls and defenses. It justifies, it changes things around, it gives you, we call, those of you who work with me, this is what unconscious resistance is. It creates unconscious resistance to your evolution, because in order to evolve, you have to deal with the traumas, you have to deal with the pain. You have to work through your disappointment. And that sounds very cavalier, but disappointment could be, your parent beat you, and the disappointment of not being loved by your parent. It's not something minor. It's not like I'm disappointed. It's horrible. But as bad as the physical pain was, as bad as the emotional pain, as bad as whatever psychological craziness went on, the most painful thing is that you were not loved unconditionally. And that causes disappointment. I didn't get what I wanted. It just comes down to that. You didn't get what you wanted, what you deserved. But you wanted it, and you didn't get it. That causes a trauma. So you have to work through it. Now, you can't snap your fingers and make it go away either. So the long way, the first way of raising your vibration is you spend your whole life dealing with it piecemeal, piece by piece. But unfortunately, you've created ways that you've been programmed, and you're responding to other disappointments in life that constantly happen. You not getting what you want, people not treating you the way you deserve, things not happening the way you want them to happen. So it's not just about taking time to work through that one childhood trauma, because now you've got all these other traumas. And resisting that trauma creates behavior in you where you actually stimulate people to traumatize you in those same ways. You create more trauma for yourself by trying to prevent yourself from feeling these things. And so what was one big, painful childhood trauma that you're trying to deal with piecemeal, protecting yourself from, that has now created a bunch of other traumas. And all of that energy that's surrounding your soul is now playing, is playing whack-a-mole. And, it's juggling a bunch of different plates. And all of that energy goes into that. Now, all of your life force energy, you have the lightning energy, and then that's now all caught up trying to deal with all these traumas, and that pulls from your life force energy. And then you're doing other things to avoid the pain. You're drinking, you're smoking, you're gambling, you're addicted to porn, you're full of rage, you're whatever the hell it is. You eat junk food and Cheetos and watch TV all day. I don't know. You've got some other thing going on that you're trying, all that work to try and deal with all of this stuff, and then you start getting physical illnesses. So that's the long way. The long way, and this is what happens when people become monks and they meditate and they do all that, and they emptiness meditation, and after 30, 40 years of emptiness meditation, they come to a place of acceptance. They come to learn non-attachment. And so they now program themselves not to be attached as easily. And hopefully after a lifetime, maybe many lifetimes of that, then they achieve this ability to escape reincarnation, because they no longer have any traumas. They have disappointment, they have pain, they have sadness and anger and all the rest of that, but they don't have any traumas anymore, past life or present life, that pulls their vibration down and keeps them reincarnating. That's the long way. The downside of that is it takes a long time. It takes a lot of discipline, it's a lot of hard work. Second way is the fast way. And the fast way is to do the physical movements. The physical movements that you're seeing here stimulate meridians that go directly to it's called the pericardium meridian. Pericardium means surrounding the heart. And it taps into the heart mind. And if you do these kinds of movements in the proper sequence, with the proper breathing and all the things associated with that, then you don't have to go through all of that time sitting around trying to then slowly learn non-attachment. Because what ends up happening is that those wounds start to then, you're telling the lightning energy surrounding the heart, you're telling it to let go. I'll read to you a comment I just got, just to give you an example of the power of this, the shin, the heart mind, just to give you an idea of this. I just got this comment today, and this is very common. I experienced this, other people have experienced this, and to have it happen so quickly is actually a pretty good sign. So I'm just pulling up the comment here, so just hang on a second. So this person asks me, after thunder pose, which is one of the poses that stimulates the heart mind. It's a very simple pose that if you're doing the 90-day challenge. I don't know if it's the first phase or the second phase. I think it might be the second. I can't remember which. But you learn this, and that is probably one of the fastest ways to connect directly to the pericardium, the heart mind. So he says, after thunder pose and quite intense channel of its energy. And bear in mind, this is somebody who's fairly new to the practice. They've only been doing it for a short period of time. I don't know if it's been a couple of weeks or 3 or 4 weeks or something like that, but hasn't been years and years. It's happened very quickly. It says, after thunder pose and quite intense channel of its energy, I've noticed my skin is peeling off of the top of my fingers on both hands. Is this something normal? I mean, when your skin starts peeling off of your hands, is that something normal? Yes, it is normal. And it's actually a really good symbol of what happens when the heart mind energy, when this lightning power is released. This lightning power is feminine energy. It's pure Shakti. It's feminine energy, and it is fire. So its element is fire, and it is feminine. So feminine fire. You don't usually hear that. You hear about masculine fire. You don't hear about feminine fire. So it has all the properties of the feminine. It has all the properties of healing and nurturing, but it has all of the properties of lightning. It's also known as lightning power. So I'm not using that just symbolically. That's what it's called. It's called the lightning power of the heart mind. And it's feminine. And so that power, that fire, it has a direct connection to the hands. So you have a gate on your hands called the Lao Gang point, and that point goes directly to the lightning power of the heart. And when you do the thunder posture, which is a very simple posture, anybody can do it. When you do that, that immediately, it's like pulls the lever, and it actually starts to release that lightning power, and it goes directly to the hands. And so, I have a couple of calluses here from lifting weights. You get calluses on your feet. Other people will notice that calluses on your feet will start to come off. I had one guy had been training, he started training with me, and he called me up and he said, my calluses are falling off of my feet. Is that normal? Yes. But that is also a symbol. The calluses represent that trauma, that wound, that armor that your body builds up, because that's what calluses are. I was just thinking about that the other day. I was walking around in bare feet and gosh, I can feel every single pebble on the ground. And to think that, human beings are actually designed to be able to create these shoes on their feet made out of, just pure calluses. I mean, if I had never had shoes, I would have thick calluses and I could walk on anything. Our ancestors could do that, or people who still live like that can do that. People around here do that. There's a strange style here in Australia where people will get dressed up. They'll dress up in their skinny jeans, and they'll put on a belt, and they'll put on, a shirt, a button-up shirt, and they'll do the fake messing up of their hair, and they'll be all ready to go out, and they'll walk around in bare feet. It's the weirdest thing. Where the hell did your shoes go? You don't even wear sandals. They just, that's like a thing, to walk around in bare feet when you're dressed up. So they must have good calluses on their feet. Anyway, so this energy will start when you do these practices. When you do these practices, what starts to happen is that you pull the lever. You go in here and you pull the lever, and it starts to release that lightning power, and one of the first places it's going to go is the hands. It's going to go into all of the meridians, don't get me wrong. And in order for that to be successful, first thing that you're going to experience is, first you're going to experience the intensity of the power. You're going to feel that immediately. You're going to feel the joy that comes from the heart center. You're going to feel this intensity. You're going to feel the warmth. You're going to feel all kinds of, intense physical, pleasurable experiences. Connected with energy, of course, and the awareness. You're going to have this feeling of awareness that you didn't have before. You're going to have this feeling of connection. But then, depending on how many traumas you have and how deep and how hard those traumas are, guess what's going to happen? You're going to start having some feelings. And your unconscious resistance may kick in. So that's the downside. The downside is you got to have all your feelings, and you're going to have them now. You're not going to have them, over time. You're going to have them now. But the faster you work through that trauma, the faster the boa constrictor will start to let go. Okay? So the answer to the question is the fastest way to escape reincarnation is to do it by physically stimulating the meridians that open up the heart center. And that is what we're teaching here at the 90-day challenge. If you go to thunderwizard.com and you click around until you get to Warrior 90-day Lightning Qigong, and then subscribe. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. You don't have to. You're not committing for the rest of your life. Give it a try. If it doesn't work for you, plenty of other places you can go. My goal is to get 1,000 subscribers. When I have enough people who are doing this, then we're going to do live things together where we'll do a posture together, maybe we'll do the whole breath, or we'll do something like that where we stimulate the heart mind, and then we will have an intention that we all share. And when we're focusing that intention, trust me, things are going to happen. We'll be able to affect this physical world. At the very least, we will be vibrating on a level and maybe bring ourselves to another manifestation of our own reality. Either way, that's my goal here. So I'll go ahead and answer some questions. I'll give you guys some time to come up with a question or two. If you came on late, let me go ahead and play you the introduction that I just made for you today, so you have a better idea of what it is that we're doing here, and then I'll come and we'll answer some questions. So see you in a minute or two. All right. Oops. Yeah, I want to do that, and actually we'll do this. Okay, so let's take a look and see if there are any questions. I'm trying to monitor new stuff. I'm doing multiple things. I'm streaming on multiple platforms. So far, I'm only seeing one that has any chat on. So we'll go there. That's on YouTube. All right. So if you're new to the channel, the way that I like to do live stream chats is I prefer to do question and answer. So I know that on most channels people show up and they drop their opinion and and they chat with each other. I'd prefer that if you have a question, you ask me a question about hopefully what I'm teaching. If not, then share an honest feeling. Those two things are the most important thing to me. I'm interested in questions you have about what I'm teaching that I can help you with. And if you don't have a question, I'm interested in hearing your honest experience, a feeling that you're having as a result of what I'm saying or what you're watching. That is part of the process. Because again, the way to get connected to the majority of the heart-mind energy is to be able to be conscious of all of your emotions without having to act on them. And so I give you an opportunity to talk about your feelings, talk about them openly. If somebody has a question, you'll see here up here, Harold Dale has written the word question in all caps. So do that, then write your question. You can also put honest feeling. If not, there's a good chance I'll just scroll past your comment. It's also, if I'm not in the most kind of moods and you drop a comment, then you're opening yourself up for me to psychoanalyze you. You don't want that. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. He is one of my astrologers. You can go to his website and get my style of Vedic astrology, Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Harold Dale asks a question. I've started the 90-day challenge nighttime practice. How long should I wait before incorporating phase 2? Well, so you just said 90 days. It's really important that you do it 90 days at a time. Even then, I'm speeding up the process. When I first learned, they gave me some exercises and they said, okay, go do that for a year. So I had to go do it for a year. I came to class every week, but I didn't get any of the other stuff until after I had done those things for a year straight. You need to do it for at least 90 days to be able to get your nervous system ready. Don't rush it. I understand why people want to rush it, but don't do that. End Times has a question. Do me a favor, write the word question in all caps. I almost missed it. There's a lot of people on, okay? That helps me. If you want me to answer your question, I have to see it. You ask, what if you don't want to escape reincarnation? Am I just repeating myself? I don't know. I don't know why. Oh, okay. Now you tell why. Because that's my next question is, why don't you? And I could tell by your question that it wasn't you were coming from, hey, no, I love it down here. I'm having a blast. I don't want to reincarnate. I plan on coming back, and next time I'm going to be a this and I'm going to do that. You don't doing that. You're like, what if I don't want to escape? There's a fear in there. So you can be guaranteed you'll come back with that. But you say, my biggest fear is losing myself, losing my family. I think we've talked before. You've asked this before, haven't you? This is a pretty big psychological issue. This is a big deal. The question that you ask, am I just repeating myself? So does that mean you want to stay in Groundhog Day? But what is it that you think is going to happen? Your fear of losing yourself? Yourself is an illusion. Yourself is an illusion. The person that you think you are is not who you are. It's an illusion. So you're going to lose an illusion. What that tells me is that you don't have a fully formed identity. So I don't know you. It makes me wonder what happened to you as a kid. It makes me wonder if you were loved unconditionally as a kid. Because here's the main thing that causes, this is everything. Psychologists have come to the conclusion that there's really just one thing that causes all problems, and it's shame. Shame is perfectionism. And when we become perfectionistic, and all humans have it to some degree, some more than others, but we become perfectionistic about ourselves when we're not loved unconditionally. So when you have a transactional love, that means that your worth doesn't come simply because you exist. Your worth is based on what you do for others. And so this causes narcissism, causes cluster B personalities, it causes pain, codependence, drug addiction. All these things are based on the trauma that is caused from somebody who struggles with trying to find their worth in the world. And when we don't get that unconditional love as an infant, when the mother doesn't look at the child and say, I only care about what makes you you. And normally, if somebody has, some kind of handicap, that's a bad thing in terms of society. But the mother will go, no, what makes this person beautiful is that one thing that makes them unique. It's not a flaw. It's a thing that makes them unique. And that's what I love most about them. I love you because of who you are. That person creates a self, an identity, and goes out in the world. If you have an identity, the thought of losing your physical personality will not frighten you. The fear of losing yourself, it means that you don't have yourself. You've never experienced yourself, and that's why you're afraid of losing it. Losing your family, you've come on here and you've said that before, and it annoys me a little bit because I gave you an answer and you're asking me the same question again. I understand, because these are really painful things, but it makes me want to ask you, you need counseling. You can't work on this kind of stuff alone. You need some kind of counseling. I have a counselor. I have a therapist. I have a group of people I work with, and here I am teaching you about how to achieve non-attachment and reincarnation. So, if you're looking at me as some kind of a teacher and you want what I have, you should probably try doing what I do. You need help. You've asked me that 2 times at least. That is a big deal. Your fear of losing yourself, your fear of losing your family. I don't know. You mean your parents or your kids? I mean, if that's your family and you're afraid of losing like your wife and your kids, you're going to end up squishing them. You're going to end up harming them with that. You can't be imposing that selfishness on other people. If it's your family, like your parents, you're afraid of losing them, that's selfish. You've got to let them be. I think I even said this to you last time. You got to let them be who they are. It's okay if what I'm saying is bringing up a lot of pain in you, then feel the pain. Don't try and run away from the pain. Feel it. Feel it and get to what I was saying earlier about, not getting what you want in life. That's a huge trauma. I was going to say something else, but I forgot what it was. All right, so let's see here. So again, some people are throwing out their opinion. That's not what I want here. I know you're trying to help. I want to hear your question. I want to hear your question about what we're talking about. Flux Pavilion has said successful ways they've raised their vibration is the Hool breath, breath work, meditation. All right, so the Hool breath is part of the 90-day challenge. In fact, it's the base thing. And if you're new to the channel and you want to try out something, you can go anywhere on YouTube and type in this Hool breath. Go there and look for that on YouTube and practice that. That is the base practice of this whole tradition, which I call the Thunder Wizard Path. All right, what else? Flux Pavilion, everything you say is true, except it's superficial. This is why, again, I don't recommend people just dropping their opinion. You want to be part of the conversation, or you want to look good, or who knows what, I don't know. I understand. But I'm going to look at it with my laser-like thing, and if what you're saying is not getting what the level I want to get at, I'm going to focus on it. You say, if you wish to escape reincarnation, stop by operating out of love and peace. How do you do that? Is that something you just choose to do? Well, I don't have a problem with that, making the decision to take loving actions. But what if you don't have loving feelings? What if you can't operate out of love and peace? What if you have traumas that have crippled your ability to trust the universe, to trust yourself? What if you're sad all the time? What if you have sadness and depression? What if you walk around with anger? The people that are out there doing things that they do aren't just choosing not to have love in their life. It's not just that they're not choosing to operate from love and peace. It's not that they're not choosing to renounce power and greed. In fact, some people, some activists who have renounced all power and greed are some of the most angry, vengeful, passive-aggressive people you can come across. That's why people make fun of them. People make fun of vegans for that reason, because they're so full of themselves, walking around telling people, all the problems they're causing, even if what they're saying has some truth to it. So that's too superficial. You've got to go deeper than that. It starts by looking at your own pain and acknowledging that. That's why this practice, I love this practice, because there's no BSing. You cannot BS this energy. This energy that goes and starts peeling away calluses on your hands, that starts to bring up things out of your unconscious mind you didn't know were there. You can't lie to it. You can't play games with it. You either have to let it do its thing, or people walk away from the practice. Those are your two choices. I'm consciously teaching this in a way where I'm doing the best that I can to teach it to you in the safest way possible, where you get the most benefit with the least amount of unnecessary challenge. If I were to teach you guys the actual practices, the ones that I learned and the ones that I do, which you've seen me do, where is that? The stuff that you've seen me do here, where is it? The stuff that makes you feel like you're going through this. This is what happens if you go too fast into the practice. It just completely destroys you. This is Flux Pavilions, or not Flux Pavilions, this is End Times Fear. But End Times, if you lose yourself, this is what you get from it. You end up recreating your true self. What you're afraid of is you're afraid of losing your false conditioned self. And so you haven't learned that your false conditioned self, which you think you need in order to be loved, which you think you need in order to connect with your family, you haven't learned yet. And that's okay. We're all in a process of learning. I'm still learning it. You haven't learned yet that your authentic self, which is what you're afraid of, gives you the experience of feeling loved whether or not you are with your family or not. You feel loved whether or not you are yourself, or whether this external part of you dies and you become your true infinite self. That, there's a quantum field where we're actually connected to everything. You're just not aware of it. But when you lose yourself, guess what? You get connected to all of that. It's an illusion here that you're separated from anybody. It's an illusion that you're different from somebody else. Everybody is you, and you are part of everybody else. It's okay that you don't know that, and it sounds really high and lofty. Again, all of this, those people who come onto my channel, I give them such a hard time. There are people who are proud and brag that, I don't do any of the work here. I just come when I'm bored because I like thinking about it. It's like, well, I'm glad that you do. Hopefully it has some benefit for you, but you're not. It's like sitting outside of a gym and watching people work out, wanting to get in shape. You gotta have to actually get your ass in the gym and work out. You gotta do the work. So you won't know what I'm talking about on some level if you're not doing the work. That's really what I'm here to do. I want to get you to do the work. And if I can, the easiest, fastest way that I can help you do that, that's what I'm trying to do. All right, so let's go see if there's any more questions here. Looks like there's a lot. Zach Johnson, what did I say last time? Come on, man. I appreciate that you're on the channel, but if you want to engage, you're going to have something valuable to contribute. It makes me think that you're a little kid. Are you a little kid? Like you a teenager? Are you just spending a lot of time on YouTube? Welcome to the channel. I'm not going to answer that question. Let's see what else. Film sample. Okay, so all right, they liked what they saw me doing on the video there. Okay, Flex Pavilion, honest feeling. Let's always look at honest feelings. Flex Pavilion, honest feeling. I feel great after doing the sauna today. It helps me. Yeah, okay. That wasn't really what I was asking. We can go a little deeper than that. It's like, might as well just say, yeah, I just took a big dump. Boy, that's an honest feeling, but is that really what I'm asking? Come on, guys, let's go a little deeper than that. I believe in you. You can go beyond this superficial nonsense. Flex Pavilion, again. So I can tell if somebody's doing the work or not. Because if you're not doing the work, you're going to ask general questions. You're going to ask superficial questions, the kind of questions that if we're sitting at a bar and we're just shooting the shit and we're drinking a beer, and it's the kind of stuff you do to fill the air because you don't want the uncomfortability of just being by yourself. You want to have some attention. You want to have somebody look at you and you want to feel like you're with somebody. That's how I know when somebody hasn't done the work. Because if you do the work, you're going to have a specific question to ask. Chong the Viking, honest feeling. I am experiencing major resistance to doing these exercises, 90-day challenge, due to trauma at an early age. Yeah, so resistance is just a feeling. The good news is you're conscious of it. You're conscious of it. So what's not good is when you're unconscious of it. A lot of the people that walk around, a lot of the love and light people walk around, smoking weed all day, stuffing their feelings and putting on a good face and talking about love and light and everything is beautiful, and they're just stuffing all of their rage and their self-hatred and their insecurity down that they've had all their life. They don't know any better. They're doing their best, but they don't know. You do this kind of work and all of a sudden you become conscious. So that is good. You want that. It's, people think that enlightenment is being at peace with no feelings and everything is bliss and you're on a cloud. That is not enlightenment. Enlightenment is having all of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and impulses and feeling them fully, and still having the conscious awareness to be able to take conscious action, to choose what your actions are, even if those actions are directly opposite to whatever feeling or impulse you're having. That is enlightenment. So Flex Pavilion, Chong the Viking, your honest feeling is you are having an experience of enlightenment. People talk about awakening, spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening is that. Spiritual awakening isn't coming up and seeing through your third eye how the cabal is destroying the world. That's not awakening. Awakening is, oh my God, I have this feeling and I did that because when I was 4 years old, I chose to protect myself by believing this because my mom never gave me that, and the pain, and oh my God, that's enlightenment. That's the beginning of enlightenment. So the good news is that if you have all of those feelings, and even if they're negative, guess what? They're not getting stuck in your aura or getting stuck in your body. There are people out there dying of cancer who will tell you that they have no anger and they have nothing but love. They're the kindest people in the world. They'll bend themselves backwards to make you happy. And if you ask them, what are you angry about? They say, you know what? I just love everybody and I don't have any anger. And they're totally unconscious of all of the self-directed negativity, all of the rage that they can't tolerate, and they shove it down. It gets stuck in the body. You are having an honest feeling. You're feeling the resistance. Maybe you're feeling the anger, the pain, the whatever, the confusion, the doubt, the fear. At least it's not stuck in your body. And if you keep doing the 90-day challenge, you won't have to act out. Now, some people consciously have the feelings and then they act out on them. They go and take drugs. They go and gamble. They go and get in fights or whatever it is that they do. Or in my case, buy too many surfboards. That is acting out on the feeling. But when you can have the feeling and take appropriate action, you are in enlightenment, and the energy from your soul is going through your whole body and you will be healthy. Good news is that those feelings can be worked through and the intensity will go away. The resistance will go away. That's what discipline is all about. That's why you have to show up every day and do the work. No matter how you feel, you do your best. We all make mistakes. Some people aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't do it every day. Sometimes things get in the way. But if you make that commitment and you show up every day, the effects are cumulative. Then he asked the question, is this common with a lot of your clients? So the answer is yes. It's not only common, I haven't had any clients where that hasn't happened. So if you're looking for the magic pill that's going to make you feel good, I can't help you with that. The magic pill that I give you will make you feel good, but it's not going to take away the reality of your experience. Curiosity Shop, honest feeling, breathwork is bringing up a lot for me. The breathwork I teach or some other breathwork? Because I can't help you with other breathwork if it's a specific question, unless I know what it is. Breathwork is bringing up a lot for me. I'm not even consistent yet, and sometimes it gets pretty overwhelming. What you're saying right now is huge. Okay, good. Thank you for sharing that honest feeling. Flurg3 question, how does one know if they've achieved a higher level of consciousness in order to avoid reincarnation? That question itself is going to keep you down here. You're looking for the way out. You're looking to escape. That's not how it works. Here's what you're not getting. And it's okay, you're not alone. We all, at some point, don't get it. You think that reincarnation is something that happens after you die. You think that enlightenment is something that happens after you die. All that happens when you leave the physical body is that you become conscious of everything you've been living in the moment. This is why meditation is about living in the moment. At least Zen meditation, observing your thoughts as they go by. Because then you learn how to be in the moment. People ask me, when you go up here to courses.thunderwizard.com and you see all this stuff about escaping the matrix, and people say, I need to escape the matrix. I hate this life. This life is sad or horrible or whatever. And I say, so if I told you where to go and what to do to escape the matrix, what would happen is you would just bring that exact same feeling with you and you would create maybe even a worse matrix. You can't avoid yourself. You take yourself with you. So how does one know if they've achieved a higher level of consciousness in order to avoid reincarnation? When you're not worried about what's going to happen in the future and you're in the moment and you don't judge where you're at. Where you're in the moment and you have your feelings and your focus is to find your creation. I'll give you an example. My dad died of alcoholism, drank himself to death. He never did I shouldn't say never. He almost never did the dad kind of stuff. Didn't take me down to the park. I never once, he never once played catch with me. I don't remember ever he and I going and doing stuff together, maybe once or twice. He made a bunch of promises. He failed all those promises. He was really destructive to me in my self-esteem in all kinds of ways. And I was so angry with him for so many years, and rightly so. And if you had asked me, I would have sat you down and I would have told you what my dad did, and how my dad wasn't there for me, and how he was so destructive to me. And I would have been right. Until one day, after doing work, after working with groups and with therapists and doing my meditations and taking responsibility, instead of looking at what he did, I looked at what I wanted from him. And I realized that what I wanted from him was my imposition. Even though I had the right to want it, I wanted him to be that dad that took me down to the park and played catch with me and did this and did that. And I wanted him to not be an alcoholic. I wanted him to not be somebody who drank himself to death every night. And I realized that I didn't have the right to expect how he should live. He had the right to, if he wanted to drink himself to death, that's his right. Who am I to tell him how to live? That doesn't take away the horrific pain. In fact, when I got to that, then I was able to cry, because then I was able to focus on how sad it was for me. I didn't get what I wanted. And how sad for him that he didn't get to hang out with a really cool little kid. What a blessing that would have been for him. He didn't get that. That's really sad for him. And really sad for me. And then I could let go. That's his life. That was his karma and his life on this planet, and I have my life. So when you're asking the question, how can I achieve this so I don't have to, you're not thinking about your interactions in the moment, the desires that you have that aren't being met, the sadness that you have, the pain that you have. You're not even able to be happy in the moment because you're thinking about achieving a level of, but it's okay. Everybody has that same thought. So it tells me there's a lot of pain. You've got to be full of pain to be thinking like that. Because people who aren't, when you talk about reincarnation, they're like, wow, yeah, no, I kind of like it here, but I mean, I'll go someplace else too. But yeah, no, I've had some difficulties in life, but there's some really cool stuff, and they're not thinking about what's going to happen afterwards. If you're thinking about what's happening afterwards, it means you're not thinking about what's happening right now. And if what is happening right now is that you're having pain from what happened 20 years ago, you're not in the moment now. But you can't help that. The pain that you take with you is from the past. Your unconscious doesn't know from time. Your unconscious is a 4-year-old. So time does not always heal all. So how are different levels of consciousness measured? You're still not getting it with that question. When you do the work, to feel good in the moment, when you do the work to work through the pain and the disappointment in the moment, when you do that, then things happen. And instead of thinking about whether or not you've achieved it, you're thinking about living fully in the moment, because that's all enlightenment is. When you die and you leave this body, if you've trained yourself to live fully in the moment, you'll be fully in the moment when you're out of the body. According to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, every single person, whether it's Hitler or whether it's Gandhi, every single person, when they die, the moment that they die, that light, you've heard about that, the light, people see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're told by people full of fear who say avoid the light, which is exactly the wrong thing to do, because what they say in the Tibetan Book of the Dead is that if you see that light and you feel fear, you're pulled into all of the different things, all the different non-enlightened, hells and being reincarnated. It's your fear of the light that takes you there. If when you die you see the light and you have no fear, you merge with it, you no longer are incarnated. So that is, when you're in the moment now, and you're in the moment when you die, you'll go, wow, look at that cool light over there, and you'll get pulled into the light. Actually, you'll choose to go into it. But here's the other thing. The light is you. That light at the end of the tunnel, that bright white light that people think is God, that's themselves. That's their own soul. So you can either merge directly with your own infinite soul, or you can run away from it. And this is all you're doing right now, is running away from yourself. How do I know if I've achieved a high level of consciousness? You're wanting to not be where you are right now. How are different levels of consciousness measured? Obviously, the one I have now isn't good enough. I have to have something else. And you're saying to me, I know, but Mike, I'm in pain. I don't want to feel this. I know. That's the ironic thing. If you choose to embrace everything and feel everything, even if you're in torture and your sadness, miserable and in pain, you are enlightened in that moment. If you were to die in that moment, fully embracing all of your pain and all of the truth of your conscious emotional experience, if you were to embrace all of that, when you die, the light wouldn't be an enemy, it would be your friend. And as cavalier as this sounds, the answer to all of our problems is to resolve not getting what we wanted. And that's a big deal. Not getting the love of your parents, not having that, that murderer slice off your fingers, not wanting those things to happen are very real. Not getting what you want is a real thing. Don't judge yourself for it. Doesn't matter if it's I wasn't able to go surfing today because I've got a bruised rib. I didn't get what I want, or because my parents didn't give me the chance to create a full identity, when I was a kid. It still comes down to me not getting what I want. And if I love myself and I don't judge myself, then I don't judge myself for being upset for not having a cookie or not being, given everything I deserve. It's the same thing. And learning how to work through disappointment is also, a psychologist will tell you, if you're individuated, you can tolerate your own feelings and tolerate others, and that's somebody who loves themselves. That's the main problem with Flux. Is it Flux Pavilion? Who was it? Who was it that person who's afraid of losing themselves? I forgot that question. So the person who's afraid of losing themselves is somebody who's not individuated. You're not tolerating yourself, which means you can't separate yourself from other people. That's why you're afraid of losing your family, because you're not individuated. This is one way to do it. Anyway, I'm starting to talk in circles here. All right, Flux Pavilion is giving their opinion. Good for you. Let's see what else. KB question. Sorry, not related to current topic, but what videos do you have that contain the most information on dragons? So, the way to use my channel is to know how to go to the channel page. So if you go onto the YouTube search channel and you type in Thunder Wizard, you'll see my YouTube page come up. Click on that. And if you're on a laptop like I am, you'll see the search bar at the top, and then you'll see a menu. It'll say videos, about, and then there'll be a magnifying glass. If you're on an iPad or a phone, there will be a menu, a pull-down menu that will say, search. So KB, learn how to search within my channel, and you can type in any word you want. You can type in the word dragons, okay? All right, what else? All right, so that's not a question. Angel Me. So Angel Me, if you have a question, write the word question. There you go. Write it in all caps so I can see it. You're asking me an astrological question. I have Venus and Mercury in house 7 in Taurus. In Vedic astrology or Western? Because if you're using Western astrology, it's going to be off by 24 degrees, which may mean it might be in a completely different sign in a completely different house. So anyway, I'm not gonna answer any astrology questions. If you want me to give you an astrology reading, you can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. You can get a reading from me or from any one of my apprentices who are giving them out as, some of them are giving them out with huge discounts. So I'm not going to answer your astrological question today, but you can go and get a reading from me or somebody else if you want. Thank you for the comments, sir, but as Deva said, who are you talking about? Is that short for Mahadeva, or are you talking about somebody else? All right, I don't know what's happening there. Timothy Zoll, question. I've got severe cervical pain. Cervical? Is that what you mean to say? I mean, you don't have a cervix, do you? Am I reading something wrong? Whatever it is, you've got severe pain somewhere. Are you talking about back pain? I've got severe pain, no meds. Difficulty with Qigong and meditation. Do have more serenity, acceptance, but feel I've reached plateau. Any advice on how to advance? Well, Timothy, I'm not a doctor, so I can't help you on actual physical issues. But you need to find out if you have an actual physical problem or if it's something else. So I want you to look up TMS. It's called tension myositis syndrome. And there's a book out there by Dr. forget his name. The name of the book is The Mind-Body Connection. I have videos on my channel about this too, if you look for it. Now, if you've actually, like you were in a car accident and your neck was broken and something like that, you know, you actually have actual physical stuff going on, maybe. Problem with TMS is that it acts like a physical problem when it's not. What ends up happening, if it's TMS, tension myositis syndrome, it can be anything, but it's most associated with physical pain, back pain, joint pain, muscle spasms, things like that. And it's because there's something that's happening on the unconscious level where the person has some feeling or some conflict that they are incapable of consciously or refuse to unconsciously deal with. And in order to justify it, the brain will actually shut down blood flow to certain nerve tissues. And what ends up happening is that the nerves go into spasm and or you get a lot of pain. So if that's the case, then I would look into those books. If you've got something physically going on, like it's an actual physical thing, and again, some people can't tell the difference because some doctors can't. You know, some doctors, you go to a doctor and even if you get an MRI, they'll come back and go, oh yeah, you got this, you know, this bone here, or this, you know, whatever is out of place, and it's not. And so people end up, you know, getting surgeries and things like that they don't need. But it might be real. You might really have something going on. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. So you're saying that you've reached a plateau. I mean, I don't know how to help you other than to keep doing it. And if it is, you know, a physical thing, then you're just going to have to work around it. You're going to have to figure out how to do it without hurting yourself. If it's TMS, then I would recommend getting some counseling and keep doing the practice. But again, I'm not a doctor, so if you know, I would get medical advice over anything that I say. I'm just sharing you some of my thoughts based on my observations and experience. I wish I could be more helpful to you. Chong the Viking, honest feeling, as well as I am dealing with a parent that is struggling with addiction and is probably not going to stop anytime soon. Chong the Viking, you're a kid, you live at home, are you 18 or older? Get the hell out. Get the hell out. Start living, get a job, and also you can go here. Go to all right, I'm writing it out here. Go to Codependence Anonymous. You can't fix that. You can never fix them. You can never, the kindest thing you can do for somebody who's addicted is to go completely no contact, is to completely separate yourselves from them, have nothing to do with them, and tell them, your addiction is harmful to me and I can't have you in my life. Talk to me after you've been sober for a year. That's the kindest thing you can do for them. They're going to hate you for it. You're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel guilty. But then you need to go and get therapy and or go to work some 12-step. Go to Codependence Anonymous. Chong the Viking, if you aren't willing to do that, I won't be able to help you. Because anything I say to you after that, if you haven't dealt with that, will be meaningless. Imagine if you have a wound festering, full of pus, and it's infected. And you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, oh my God, you have this horrible infection, and you need surgery right away, and you also need to be taking these antibiotics. And you say to the doctor, thanks, I have a pretty good idea of what's going on. I'm going to work on it myself. The doctor says, I'm telling you, if you don't get operated on and take these antibiotics now, you could die. You say, you know what, I appreciate it. Now that I know what's the name of the bacteria, okay, now I know the name of it. I'm going to go home and I'm going to do some research and I'm going to meditate on it and I'm going to take care of it myself. That doctor's going to say, there's nothing I can do for you. I won't be able to do anything for you, Chong the Viking, if you aren't willing to do that. If what you say is true, and you're dealing with a parent that's struggling with addiction and is not going to stop anytime soon, you need to go to Codependence Anonymous and you need to get the hell out. If you're too young and you can't do that yet, then you're just going to have to, you can still go to Codependence Anonymous and get some help. But if you don't take action, I won't be able to help you, okay? Any more than that. And everything I've just told you is free. You can find free therapy online. Just type in free counseling online if money's an issue. My feeling is that you're a kid, or you wouldn't be telling me this. Am I right? You're a kid and you still live at home with your parents. Flux Pavilion, honest feeling, whenever I'm in a state of higher vibration, my parents and other people unconsciously bring me back down to a lower state. How do I be grounded in the higher state? So I have the same thing for you. Are you a kid? Are you living at home because you can't be by yourself? If you're over 18, then get a job and get the hell out. Don't complain to me about choosing to stay with people that, as you say, you're saying they're unconsciously bringing you back down, but you're the one that's choosing to be there. So again, are you 14 and you can't leave? Or are you 18 and you can do your own thing? If so, get the hell out. Go get your own apartment. Go, whatever you have to do, go rent a room in a house somewhere. The other thing is that your parents can't do that to you. You are allowing them to do that. So again, counseling, any kind of 12-step work, some kind of work where you're not alone. You're operating from a victim mentality saying they're doing it to you. But it's your reaction to them. And if you are unable to change that by living with them, then stop living with them. I did that. I'm not judging any of that. I broke off all contact with my family. My mom, I'm not proud of this, but my mom passed away without any family members around her. And I chose not to go visit her when she was dying. I just couldn't be around her. She was so destructive to me, and being around her, I would just slip back into old mindsets. So I just didn't do it. So it's your choice to choose to be around people that are destructive to you, unless you're 14 or younger or 18 or younger and you can't do anything about it. Art and music. I am going to block you for obvious reasons. This isn't what we do here. So you're welcome to watch the channel, but we don't do that here, and I want you to think very long and hard about whether or not this is the right channel for you. I was married to a Chinese woman. My fiance, whom I loved more than anything else in the world, was Jewish. My two favorite teachers were African Americans. My current teacher is also ethnically Jewish. So that question that you've just asked, I'm obviously the wrong person for you, because I do not share that sentiment in any way, shape, manner, or form. So I'm going to block your comment. I'm going to block you from commenting, and you might want to think long and hard about if I'm the right channel for you. Okay? All right. There goes that. Art and music. Yeah, that was the person that yeah. All right. Let's see what else. Timothy Zoll. Do have a physical issue. Been to doctor, get injections. Yeah, so again, I don't know if you have a physical issue because you went to a doctor who told you you have a physical issue, or you really do have a physical issue, like you broke something. I would go and do me a favor, because I could be wrong, but go and look up tension myositis syndrome and find out. Some people, what happens, let me give you an example. Some people are fine, and then all of a sudden they start having back pain. And their back pain gets worse, and then they go and they can't function, and they have back spasms, and they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Oh, I just took this, and you've got a slipped disc, etc., etc." It turns out that it's not; it's TMS. Sometimes what will happen is that you'll get an injury, and then one day you'll bend over, and that injury will pop up again. So TMS can be really confusing. So without telling me more, I don't know. You didn't tell me I, broke my neck in a car accident or something. So I don't know. So I would recommend that you look at TMS thoroughly. And if you're right, it is physical, then so be it. But the thing is, if it is TMS and you're doing the Qigong is going to try to bring to your awareness the emotions, because if there's emotions blocked in your body, that's manifesting as a physical injury or a recurring injury or something like that, then doing the practice is going to make the pain worse, because your body's trying to resist giving you the consciousness of what's actually emotionally causing the pain. Again, that's me not knowing anything about what's going on with you. Look into tension myositis syndrome and see if it applies or not. Chong the Viking, honest feeling. I am old enough and will take action. Good for you. All right, that's it. No more questions. So this is the second live stream where I've been on multiple platforms. Again, I don't see any chats on there. And I might go on Facebook as well, but we'll see. Okay, here comes another. Try luck ready. If you have a question, write the word question. What work can I do for the outer species? I don't know what that means. You got to speak English. Forgive me if English is not your first language. I guess I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't understand what that means. You have to ask an honest question with a subject, object, and a verb. And you have to ask a question about what I'm teaching. Don't come on here and ask me how to bake a cake. This isn't a cooking show. Don't ask me about something I'm not talking about. Flux Pavilion, honest feeling. When I was 3 to 10 years old, I had the same dream every night. It was a wolf with big teeth attacking me. What does this mean? I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, you're afraid of something. But I don't know you well enough to know what that might mean. All right, that's it. I'm all done. I'll see you guys when I see you. Take care of yourself. And I'll talk to you all very soon. Let's see, what do I want to do? I don't want to do this.